Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to today's session. I'm Jason Gumpert from msdynamicsworld.com. I am pleased to welcome today's speakers, Mandy Rai and Matthias Brunk of Solver, for today's session all about budgeting with Dynamics ERP. As we get started, please know that we welcome your questions, and I know that presenters will be saving time at the end to take those. Please look for the Q&A block to the right of the main presentation area here in the WebEx window. To enter your questions at any point, they will be saved so that our presenters can see them. Without any further delay, we are ready to get started. I'm going to hand things off to Mandy to begin.
Okay, thank you, Jason, and thank you to everyone that is joining here today. So today's focus will be on the BI360 suite, and more importantly, we will be focusing on the budgeting module. And during the presentation or the demonstration, we will try and give a glimpse of our reporting offering as well. So if you are looking to automate your budgeting process with a user-friendly and web-based data entry solution that reads actual data directly from your Dynamics system and writes that data back to your Dynamics system, then this session will be of great value. Over the course of the next hour, I will start the session off with an overview of Solver, the company behind BI360, as well as delving into the BI360 suite, which is a corporate performance management suite that has pre-built integrations for Dynamics ERP. The systems that we have integrations for are Dynamics AX, GP, NAV, SL, and 365. I will then pass over to my colleague Matthias, who will go through the products demonstration with you. And after the presentations, we will then have a session for Q&A. So please do feel free to ask questions through the chat window, and we will look at those towards the end of the session. Okay, so a little bit about Solver. Who is Solver? Well, we are a global company that has been around for more than 20 years. We are an award-winning provider of self-service corporate performance management software. Predominantly, we do work in the Microsoft space, although we do have an increasing number of customers that are running other ERP systems. Today, Solver is about 200 employees, and we have approximately 2,300 customers. Not all of our customers are on Dynamics. We do have customers using SAP, Sage, QuickBooks, for instance. Globally, we have more than 15 offices. So we have offices in the UK, Africa, Canada, Asia. As you can see from the map here, we basically cover the whole world. You'll notice that the green dots are actually Solver offices. However, we do sell through partners as well, and we have quite a large partner network. We have over 150 partners globally, and these partners are usually resellers of BI360, and they will also be resellers of Microsoft. So, specific partners that resell Microsoft Dynamics 365 or GP, and they will also have Solver or BI360 as an add-on tool that they will provide those customers or their customers. In the UK, so the UK business, we have been established for a few years now, about 3-4 years, and we do have a good number of clients. We have 50 clients that are currently using BI360, and we are looking at about 15 partners that resell BI360 to their client base, and that is growing over the years as well. We have 2 main offices for Solver. One is in LA, and that's where our product development team for BI360 reside, as well as our global management. We also have an office in EMEA, which is based in Stockholm, Sweden. That's actually where Matthias is from. And that office provides local support and implementation for the whole of the EMEA countries. Here is a snapshot of some of our customers. Like I said, some of these customers will be Dynamics users. So if you do require, a reference or a customer success story, then we can handle that through the client base that we currently have. All these customers are using BI360 in one way or another. So let's get into a bit more about BI360. So what is BI360? Well, like I mentioned before, BI360 is a CPM suite, so a corporate performance management suite, and we have 4 main modules. So we've got 4 key modules. First of all, we have our reporting module, which is a live reporting module. So what do I mean by live? It's basically capturing your data from your Dynamics system that very second and that very millisecond. It can be available or can be ran, in Excel or the web. Second, we have our live budgeting module. So again, we can write back to your budgeting table within Dynamics, so you can access that information pretty much the second after. Again, this is what we will be focusing on for the product demonstration that Matthias will take on later, will carry out later. But what we're trying to reiterate is that you can have a reporting and a live reporting and budgeting solution in one platform, and that is provided by BI360. We also have live dashboards. Again, these are web-based, and we will try to show you these later on in the demonstration if we have a bit of time. Again, they're live because they're capturing data from your Dynamics system. As soon as you hit refresh, those dashboards will be refreshed with the latest information. Also, if you have data sources other than Dynamics that you want to connect to so that you can report and budget on, we do have an offering for a pre-configured data warehouse that can be put side by side with Dynamics. And so what you can have is you can have your live reporting with Dynamics through the reporting module, as well as data warehouse reporting. So any other data sources that you may have that you would like to report on, you have those 2 offerings there for you, and those 2 options available as well in one single platform, again through BI360. So in brief, those are the 4 main modules in BI360 today, and like I said, we will focus on the budgeting and the reporting piece as well. All of our suites, so the BI360 suite, can be offered on-premise, and that's the version that we will show you today. We do have a cloud offering as well. Unfortunately, we will not have time to show you that today, but if you are interested in our cloud offering, then please do note down my details towards the end of the presentation and contact me for a personal cloud demonstration. We have a web and Excel based offering. Again, we will show you that today. Through our data warehouse, we do have the ability to provide you with live reports and staged reporting, which basically means you can import data on a regular basis from multiple data sources and have live reports on the data warehouse. And we are recommended by Microsoft, so our whole BI360 suite is based on the Microsoft stack. So it's Microsoft SQL Server that we use with our data warehouse. Our reporting is done through an Excel add-in as well, which you will see later on. So when it comes to any sort of technology purchase, there has to be a benefit or a value to the business. So everything always starts with a business benefit. It doesn't matter how good the technology might be, you always need to look at what's the value to me or what's the value to my organisation. And through this slide, I'm going to highlight 4 main business benefits with BI360. So first of all, as you can see, it's very easy to install. Because of our pre-built integrations, it takes about an hour max to install the whole software. It's as simple as downloading the software and the pre-built integrations. Once you install the software, you will have access to the pre-built templates for Dynamics. So as part of our out-of-box integration, we do have a number of templates, approximately 20, that we will provide you as standard as part of our out-of-box package. So what does that mean? You can basically be up and running within 1 hour with a live reporting tool for Dynamics, which is very, very powerful and a very good business benefit. Secondly, it has an easy design. So BI360 is a business user report writer. So it's made for the business user. You do not have to be a consultant or a IT professional to build reports. It has an easy drag and drop design so that you can build your reports and your budget templates from. The main category of users that we have are what we call viewers, and they are our end users. They only run reports with a parameter or they select a parameter, and it will populate the report or the template with real-time data in it. Our super users, they are our report writers, those that will be creating reports in a Excel-based environment. And again, like I said, that is made for the business user. So pretty much our super users, as long as they know Excel, they can learn BI360 in one day, and that's why we offer one-day training on that. Thirdly, for our end users, which I referred to earlier, our viewers, it's a simple click to run on a template, and you are able to drill down into the data. It's easy to export the data, and for budgeting, we do have a workflow where you can have control of who has done what and when. So as an organisation, you can monitor how far certain budget holders are within the budgeting process. So again, it's a really easy to use tool. There's no training needed for our end users, our viewers. Like I said, we only train our super users, which are the report writers and the template builders. And lastly, and I guess most importantly, it's easy to share. So you can copy paste from every template or report you have, both on the web and in Excel. The web-based portal that we will be showing you later on is very easy to use for sharing information. You just log on through a web page, and once you are in the web page, you will see all your reports and budget templates with all the live information in it. And all you have to do is click an update button, and you will see the latest numbers in real time. In terms of our sharing option, we do have something called a publisher module. This basically is a module that enables you to distribute reports on a scheduled basis as an email. I will discuss this a little bit in detail later on in the presentation in the next couple of slides. So from what you can see here, we'll move on to our screen, the screen that I have here. So like I've mentioned, everything is provided with live reports and dashboards on Dynamics. That is the core of the product and what we will be demonstrating today. We are live on Dynamics. I think I've said that a couple of times now. And how are we live? Well, we connect directly to the Dynamics database, and the reports you build or we build for you are all connecting live to Dynamics. So it's the most up-to-date information, and I think I've reiterated that, and I can't reiterate it enough, that we are providing you with real-time data. So what does that mean in practice? Well, if you have a new transaction in Dynamics which has been created, and the end user runs a report a second after in BI360, that transaction will be included in the summarization of a specific report. So the live connection is a very important and powerful factor within BI360, hence me reiterating it so many times. The out-of-box integration that we provide you will include over 10,000 fields from Dynamics. So basically everything you need to report on is available in the out-of-box integration. But it's not only actual fields and attributes, but we have included a lot of logic in our integration. So what do I mean by logic? Well, what I mean by that is we have included links. So normally we can connect from the GL, the general ledger, to the business partner hierarchy or the chart of accounts, giving the possibility to create complex and advanced reports based on different attributes in different sections within Dynamics. So what that means is you can combine information, for instance, from the general ledger and accounts receivable into one simple report showing you the values or calculations. For example, you could do revenue by volume, by customer in one spreadsheet. So you're able to mix the data or the dimensions you're building into your report. As you can imagine, not many organizations run Dynamics solely out of the box. There will be elements of customization needed. And of course, it is easy to customize the integrations within BI360 as well. So rest assured, if you do have added UDFs or custom tables in Dynamics, those can be easily included on top of the standard integration within BI360 to give you a customer-specific integration, including any specific attributes, fields, or tables that you may have. I've mentioned before that we are live through Microsoft Dynamics Nav, AXGPSL, also 365, and we also do have live integrations with other systems like Salesforce, and we are adding more as we go. So let's move on to the platform. As I've mentioned, we have a reporting, budgeting, and dashboards, which is live on Dynamics through the through the pre-built integrations, which is the middle layer connecting to the Dynamics database, which is making it possible to build dynamic reports, in Excel, populating with latest numbers in real time. The budgeting module, as I mentioned before, will write back directly to a budgeting table in Dynamics. The dashboards will pull data in real time from Dynamics, and you can see through the dotted line. Unfortunately, the solid line behind or connecting to the budgeting module has overcome the dotted line. Very similar to the reporting as well. The reporting is directly linked to Dynamics as well, so every time you click run on the report, you're able to see the latest information. The design of all of our reports is being done in Excel, hence the one-day training only needed for report designers. And the viewing of the reports can be either in Excel or on the web. Again, we will show you that in the demonstration today. We do have an admin interface as well, where you can handle user permissions. You can handle the integrations, customizations, which means not everyone needs to be a Dynamics user to run a report in BI360. BI360 is a side-by-side application, making it possible to distribute information to people not having a license on Dynamics. I can't reiterate enough, it is a very easy drag and drop design that can be available on-premise or in the cloud. Just touching upon some of the additional modules that BI360 provides you. Unfortunately, we will not have the time to show you all of these today, but like I said, please do reach out. My details will be on one of the last slides that I will show you later on. But let me just touch upon some of these modules that we have. So firstly, we have a multi-company module. This enables you this gives you the possibility for live consolidation throughout an unlimited number of companies. So what does that mean? If you are running Dynamics with multiple legal entities, you can have consolidated reports summarizing actuals and budgets through all those entities into one single view in real time. That's quite powerful. Second of all, we have publishers, which I mentioned earlier when it came to the Easy Share. Publisher, which enables you to distribute reports by email as either a PDF in an Excel format or HTML. These can be scheduled and ran on conditions. So for example, you could set a report or schedule a report to send every Monday morning at 9 AM, for example, and it can show you last week's sales reports. And that can be automatic, so that receivers can view that and view the reports. And the most important thing is that they do not need to have a BI360 license through the publisher. They do not need to have a BI360 license to view those reports. Thirdly, we have our data warehouse, which I mentioned earlier. This enables you to have advanced consolidation. And it enables you to add more than one data source. So if you're running other data sources like your CRM system or payroll system, or data that you do not have in Dynamics, you can pull this through by using the data warehouse. The data warehouse is, well, we do have a cloud-based offering and an on-premise offering as well. So it's a very flexible solution. With the data warehouse, we do offer pre-built cloud connectors. So, for example, we do have a Salesforce connector, we have a Dynamics 365 connector, and various others. And like I said, we are building and adding more as we speak. Alternatively, through our on-premise solution, you can always connect to any data source through our data warehouse by using SSIS, which is a integration service within SQL Server, and that will enable you to connect to any type of data source. Again, we can assist with this, or you can do this yourself if you wish to go with the data warehouse. So I think that's enough talking from me. I will now, without further ado, pass you over to my colleague Matthias, who will show you a product demonstration of everything I have just discussed.
Thank you, Mandy. Before you mute, Mandy, could you please verify that you can see my screen and hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you fine, and I can see your screen.
Good, thank you. So my name is Matthias. I'm based in Stockholm, Sweden. I work together very closely with Mandy in the UK and also on a European level. So anything related to BI360 is normally handled directly with Mandy after this webinar. But if you have any type of technical questions or similar to that, I'm here today to be able to assist Mandy with responses to those if needed. And I believe there will be a Q&A at the end if you have any further questions. So what Mandy told you and showed you is something I will try to display through a live demo of BI360. As you have already seen, with BI360 you have a different number of options. We have live reporting, live budgeting, live dashboards. We also have a data warehouse. We have our product in Excel or on the web, as well as on-premise or in the cloud. So there are many different alternatives. And in order not to confuse you, I would try to keep some kind of red thread throughout the demonstration. So the first thing I want to show you, and that's the main topic for today, is the budgeting possibilities that we can offer out of the box for GP, for AX, for NAV, and also for Dynamics SL. So this is an out-of-the-box offering. Normally we could implement that within 5 days, or a partner to us could implement it within 5 days to a fixed price. Also, there's a special bundle for this with all the license needed that you could reach out to Mandy about after the session if you want to know more about that. So everything you see today are real-time examples of report and input templates communicating directly with Dynamics. In this case, I will do my demo for Dynamics GP, but again, we have similar solutions for AX and NAV. So what you see in the screen in front of you is the end user interface. So what I have done is I have logged on to our web-based portal, can be run on-premise or in the cloud. And as an end user, I get access to the report library in the BI360 web portal, but of course also filtered depending on permissions. So for instance, if I'm only allowed to look at outputs but don't do any inputs, I would only see this subset of the templates that we have in the solution. And the same kind of logic would apply if I talk about budgeting and forecasting. So these menus to the left are actually categories that you can create in order to categorize and organize all your report library. So when I click on all, of course, my permission would allow for it. I can see all the templates that we have in an organization, but it's very easy to create categories and sort the templates according to categories, and then, of course, allow permissions on the different categories. So it's a nice and easy way to organize things through the BI360 portal. Starting from reporting, I will just run one of the pre-built templates that we have for GP. So in this case, I have about 9 templates. We actually have about 25 for GP and the same number for both NAV and AX. So that is one thing you would get with BI360, even though the topic is budgeting. You would get out of the box about 20 to 25 reports that in real time would run out of the box on top of your ERP system. So just the way BI360 works is that I, as an end user, I select a template, for instance, my P&L report that compares actual versus budget. Once I select it, it will actually populate with the real-time numbers from the ERP system. So in this case, this template has a P&L structure with, of course, some revenue sections first, then some other revenues, and if I scroll down, you will find probably something similar to your chart of accounts, COGS, purchases, gross margin, etc., etc. This structure can, of course, be customized. So what we normally do during an implementation is that we train the end customer in how the report designer works, and they can actually customize the templates themselves according to their chart of accounts. So for instance, if this range of accounts would not be your revenue accounts, or if we have made a mapping to an account group and you have another chart of accounts, it's very easy to remap those and the templates would still work. So everything you see here are actually numbers being pulled in real time from, in this case, GP. So whenever I click refresh, the numbers will actually be updated by a query being sent to the SQL Server where GP resides. So if a new transaction is created and someone clicks refresh, they will actually be able to view the numbers in real time, both from a budgeting perspective as well from a pure actual reporting perspective. And any number in BI360, for instance, this number is of course an aggregation of transactions. So I'm saying that the year-to-date actual for the period 2014 March, which is what I have selected here as an end user, is 4.4 million, almost 4.5 for this account. If I right-click on that, I can do a drill down and I will see the underlying transactions. So any number in BI360 is drillable. So of course I can also do a drill down on the budget number and I can see what budget transactions did we have for this amount and what period do they belong to. And of course if you have multiple departments doing the budgets in parallel, which is normally the case, this will be a nice way to summarize the budget in real time throughout your organization on a consolidated level. You can run it, you can review the numbers, and you can always right-click and do drill down and see the underlying transaction. So these are the actual budget transactions entered by a user or by different users. In this case, I also use 2 different budget IDs, but I'm combining them in this report. So you can get full transparency, both when the transactions were created, by whom, and of course what cost center they belong to, etc., etc. So drill down is always available out of the box with BI360. And of course, in any type of report or input template, you only have one template, even though you might have multiple users. So in this case, I ran this report with a blank department, which means all. So if someone has permissions to run it for several departments, they will actually create a summary of all departments selected. Another version would be where I have another user that could, of course, in the same time, run the same template, but just for one specific department. So everything in BI360 is based on permission. And this is a department that didn't have any revenue, it was just the cost. So everything in BI360 is based on permission on 2 different levels, so to speak. One is, of course, as I described in the beginning, in terms of who can see what reports. That is handled in the portal by sorting templates into different categories and setting permission on that. Level 2 is within a specific report, for instance, this P&L, you can also specify what data should I be able to see. So if I'm only allowed to run reports for department 300, I would only, of course, get department 300 in this selection list. Another user might open the same template, but he or she will have another department available, for instance, department 400, and whenever he or she runs it, he or she would, of course, see only their numbers. Again, everything in real time. So that is the core functionality in terms of how you can categorize things, how you can set permission, and also how you're actually running templates, regardless if it's output or input. So moving into budgeting, I normally say that a budget template or a forecasting template is basically a report that will write back functionality, right? So when I run this report for a specific time period, for a specific department, in this case, for a specific budget ID in the ERP system, so everything you see here is live and, of course, configured in the ERP system. So if you want to do a next year's budget, first thing you do is you create a new budget ID or a new budget category in the ERP system. That will then be available for selection by the end user, the very same second that category or that ID is created in the ERP system. So this report is now populated. The things you see in the yellow fields are the numbers I entered last time I was working with my budget. If I scroll to the right, I have, of course, this year's actuals up to the month where we have actuals. So for instance, if I'm about to do my budget for next year and I have calendar year equal to fiscal year, I will probably do it in September, October. So in this case, I have said that I have actuals up to September, so this template will actually render with actuals up to September. And normally you would, for the remaining period this year, add some budget or forecast in order to give you a full year total as a comparison. Now, if the budget work takes more than you expect, which is not really unusual, I could of course say, well, hey, now my actuals for October is complete, so let's just do like this. I can still be in the same template but refresh it with October instead. The budget numbers would of course be the same because that's work in progress, but the columns to the right will have been updated. So instead of 9 columns of actuals, I will have 10 columns of actuals, plus of course only 2 columns for the remaining time periods this year. So if I go to the right, I now have actuals up to October, and again, everything you see, that is a summary, I can do a drill down and see the underlying transaction. So what I want to say with this is that everything that's related to column or row logic is very flexible, and I will show you in a few minutes how you can actually design and modify these type of templates. But you recall that you did not have to open another template just to get another column with actuals. All of that was handled generic depending on the parameter entered. Also, this specific interface where I have 12 columns of actual and remaining budgets for this year to the right, and I have 12 columns plus a yearly total for input to the left, is just an example. So if, for instance, if you want to have one column for a rolling 12 month or a year to date or a full year number, that's very easy to change or to add. The same, of course, goes if you want to have the actuals to the left instead of to the right, etc. I will show you that in detail, but remember that everything that's related to column expanding logic in terms of flexible Excel-like spreadsheets is very easy to do with BI360, but it's a very manual work to do if you're only working in Excel. So normally the customers we have come from an Excel-based planning solution but get frustrated with manual work in terms of updating them with actuals. making changes in terms of column order, etc. And not to say, of course, the manual consolidation normally included or involved in that type of working scenario where you have 10, 20 or even more manual budget users sending you spreadsheets that someone is supposed to consolidate manually, or maybe through a script, but that normally gets prevented by broken links or that someone has inserted a row that he or she was not entitled to do, etc. So all of that is taken care of by BI360, because what happens is whenever someone runs a report, the numbers are being populated, and of course the interface is being generated, depending in this case what parameter I selected, with a combination of the count codes I have in my system. So let me just group this together and display the actual structure of this template. So the way this budget template is used is that we have a couple of groupings. For instance, revenue, purchases, gross margin, it's a calculation, expenses, etc. Each and every one of these is a dynamic group, which means all the account codes, because these are account names, within a certain account group will automatically be displayed by the product. So you don't need to hard code to specify that it should only be these exact accounts. All of these will update whenever you run a report, and in this case where you have any actuals or budget numbers on them. So the way this system works is, in order to enter a budget in a budgeting template, I would just write a number. And as you can see, it's very Excel-like, and to be honest, the design of the template is being done with our Excel-based designer by a super user. That design or that template is then uploaded to the portal, so the end user is then viewing this interface instead of working in Excel. But that also means that all Excel functionality is supported. So for instance, if you want to use a formula, I can do that. This should be 23% more than the other, or similar. So all input is as if you were in Excel. All you need to do is to click on Store Data, and these values will be written down, in this case to the ERP system live, directly into the budgeting table. So once I have stored my numbers, and if we are multiple users working simultaneously, of course someone can view the consolidated budgets in real time, but you can also go into the ERP system, regardless if it's NAV, AX, or GP, and review the actual numbers in the ERP system, because we are writing directly back to the budgeting tables in the ERP system. So a budgeting template is basically a reporting template, but with write-back functionality. So of course you can write back values that you have entered or calculated with a formula that I just did. Some other features that we have built into the product is something that we call line item detail. So if I right-click on this value, I will get a pop-up with some assistance to do my budget if I wish. So in this case, here are my numbers from the Excel cell behind this. Here I have an opportunity to create what we call a line item detail. So for instance, if my Germany sales installation charges account should be divided into two, for instance, I have two major projects, I can do that here. As an end user, I can specify a free text. Sorry, I clicked on the F1, shouldn't do that. So let me take that back. I can enter a value directly into this one. And of course, if I do this on another level as well, and say these are other projects, these numbers would summarize to the account and be the budget for that account, of course. As you can see, this is a sum of the underlying line item details. But these would also be stored by the system, and it's also a possibility to add a comment to this one, to create a comment to the specific value if wanted. There's also a possibility, of course, to have comment input directly in the template behind this, if you want to comment by row. But here we actually have an out-of-the-box possibility to also comment by cell. This is startup fee project A. And the way it's visualized is, of course, that I get a yellow corner for that specific cell. So all of these are built in. If I click OK, I will make a selection. Sorry, I will make, we will highlight that by creating a gray box around this number. So this actually tells us that there are line item details behind these two values, but not behind these. So if I try to change that one because it's actually calculated, I can't. But of course, I can change that value right away. So we persist or prevent that people overwrite their own calculation. Another example that's built in is, of course, for instance, this account, that if I right-click, I can see the prior year's actuals above, and I have my current year's budget below. Of course, what one could do is to specify, I think I really need to remove that one, hold on. So if you don't have any line item details, you can work with spreadings. So for instance, I can take the prior year actions and increase each value by a certain percentage. If it's sales, it should probably increase. Let's see. Why is that? It should do that. Sorry for that. So let me just try again and say I want to use even distribution and click apply. There it works. So I have two different ways of using automatic spreadings. One is, of course, to increase or decrease the last year actuals in percentages or units and apply it all over the 12 months below. Or I can spread a total yearly amount and distribute it evenly. It would just be divided by 12, but even more important to distribute that yearly value according to the allocation curve based on the prior year actual. So I'm actually taking the distribution from the actuals and distributing a yearly budget according to that. And as you can see, we have some pre-built functions in terms of summer and winter curves. These two are actual allocation curves that you could organize and modify as an administrator or a super user in the system. You can actually have custom allocation curves being available for the end users to use, but that are being controlled by the super users in the system. So these two are a couple of examples of out-of-the-box functionality that you can use when you're inputting numbers. I showed you the drill down in terms of reviewing actuals or summarization reports. And again, of course, if I'm working within my budgeting, I want to see a consolidated view of all departments. So the true use of a budgeting solution is if we have multiple departments doing stuff simultaneously. So in this template, and this is included out of the box, is a summarization of the underlying departments. And again, it's real time. If I click refresh, it will refresh the numbers as they are by this very second. This template comes with a summary tab as well as individual tabs for the selected departments I have used in my organization. And since this is a demonstration environment, I have only used 000 for input. But anything I select as a parameter to this one would appear as an individual spreadsheet and included, of course, in the total sheet. Same goes for the same type of report, but a slightly different setup where we display the selected departments by columns instead. So the other one had time period by column and individual departments by sheet. This one has a yearly total by department. So this is nice if you want to use for a quick view of the total budgets, in this case in a P&L structure throughout your whole organization and see, well, the budgeted income for next year in total consolidated is 4.9 million, for instance. So again, out of the box, you would get one budget input, two consolidated reports. You would get about 20 actual reports and one forecasting template. The forecasting template is very similar to the budgeting one. The only difference is we have a variable time window for which you are entering numbers. So you are always doing forecasting to the end of the year. Very easy to change if you, for instance, want to do a 12-month rolling forecast. It would take me about 2 minutes. And the same goes for the comparison or the actual columns. In this case, we are displaying actuals depending on what the user selects, just as before. So if I select October in this one, I would only get 2 columns for data input, but I would get 10 columns for actuals. And again, if you want to have a rolling 12 months actual backwards and rolling 12 months input forward, that's a very easy change to do to this template. Same goes for this one. You probably want to change it to your account structure. But very important to know is that account numbers and account names are actually being read in real time from the ERP system. So if you would install BI360, run this template, it would actually display all your account codes and account names that starts with a 4, I believe. So this comes from the ERP system. It's just the definition that resides in BI360. So reporting and budgeting, I have promised you that we do have dashboards. I will display just one to show you an example of what it could look like. Our dashboard module are being designed very similar to the way we are designing reports that I will show you next. It's by dragging and dropping different attributes from the ERP system from which we have a live integration. So basically what we do is we are exposing for super users only about 6,000 fields or more from the ERP system that they can use for drag and drop in order to build reports and dashboard displaying the values in real time. So our dashboard is, as you can see, very graphical. We do have some functionalities that if I click on one, the other 2 would change, and I would do a drill down in this case to department. If I click again, I was down like I just did, I'm down to account. We have different components, meaning different graphical objects, bar charts, line charts, of course, pie diagrams or pie chart, as well as a list where you want to do a detailed analysis. You can, of course, also export it, anything to a CSV file or to an Excel file. That applies to everything you have seen so far. You can always export it to Excel for viewing, but of course you cannot enter values in Excel because it's just an export from the system. So these dashboards are actually included in the web-based portal, and within our budgeting offering, you would include all of the stuff you have seen so far, reporting, budgeting, and dashboards. So let me show you a little bit, just for a few minutes, on how these templates are actually built. And I'm going to do that by actually displaying how you build it from scratch. So let me remind you the way I started. I just showed you a P&L report, in this case for a specific department. So let me select that again and refresh, and we can see what the actuals versus budget is for department 000 just by now. So again, how would you build such a report? Well, with BI360, you would get a report designer. And the report designer operates from within Excel. So the super users in BI360 can modify and build any type of report they want from the ERP system. So we have an add-in in Excel. This is standard Excel with an add-in. That's our designing interface. And the way it works is you select, I want to build a new report. I'm going to do this pretty fast. But what we normally say is that we train super users for 1 day. They need, of course, to know Excel before that. But if you know Excel, you will learn BI360 during 1 day of training for the super users. The end users, they don't need any training at all. They would just have to learn how to select a parameter and run a report or enter a number. But the super user would be trained during 1 day. And I'm just going to change my dictionary that I will display English names. So what you see to the left is currently the integration for AX, but it looks very similar as for GP and NAV. So as a super user, you can see all the modules you have in your ERP system. So general ledger, accounts receivable, accounts payable, inventory, etc. So there is a lot of information included, again, out of the box with our integration. So for instance, within each folder, if I take the order lines from the accounts receivable, I can expand and I will have availability to a lot of the fields within that module in AX in this case. And everything that has an icon as a dollar sign is something that can be summarized. And the other attributes are fields I can use for what we call grouping. So I can actually summarize all the measures by something else. The fields with a green plus and a small arrow is actually one of the links that Mandy did a reference to. So for my order lines, I have, of course, a tag or a code for cost center to which the order belongs. But we also have a link to the cost center structure. So for instance, if you want to build a report on some kind of cost center attribute, such as region, or in this case by customer, I want to see by country how my sales are performing or what the quantities or average price I'm selling and compare them. I could use that by just using this field being linked through the customer ID, in this case to the order lines. So these links is a huge asset in BI360 because it contains and gives you the possibility to use a lot of business logic from the ERP system. And the way you do in order to build something is to drag and drop. So if I want to build a report similar to my P&L, I'm going to drag and drop account, but not only account, I'm actually going to fetch the account name. And basically what I've done now is I have created a report template that whenever I run it on the web, but as a designer I can also run them in Excel, it will populate and display the full chart of accounts for the moment from my ERP system. So this is what a template actually looks like. When I run them in the portal, they're actually pre-populated with numbers according to the parameters, but it's actually an empty spreadsheet running on the server being populated in real time, and hence my reference to the dynamic rows. So whatever account I have, in this case, will appear by row. Second, of course, I want to have something by column that's related to time period. And if I have account and month, I want to summarize the amount. I'm going to do some quick configuration to my period parameter and display that all users can select one or more. And here's also the sheet per value function that was applied to the department parameter in the consolidated budget report, where I got one sheet per selected department. So again, now I have a parameter. I can select 1 month. In this case, I want to display the actuals for January, but another user might want to display it for another month, or of course, if I select 6 months, I would get 6 columns. So it's dynamic by row and column. And the final aspect, more or less, would of course be to do some Excel formatting. And you know, you can spend 3 weeks on this. I'm just going to spend a few seconds and say, this is my P&L report. This should be summarized. Let's assume we're working with dollars. I'm going to make some kind of heading. And I'm going to format this, just make it blue and white. I'm going to remove the grid lines. And then I'm going to say that I want a subtotal of everything that's above. So you see, this is a standard Excel formula, which means everything that works in Excel will also work in BI360. So for the moment, I have summarization formula now balancing out because I have no filter by account, but you can see that the reference is intact. So the final thing I want to do before I hand over to you, Mandy, is of course to do some grouping. I'm going to select to hide that one, and then I'm going to add that I'm going to start with all the accounts that starts with a 4. So that's going to be my subtotal for revenues. Then I would just copy paste that 3 times. And I actually got lost that one, so let me just drag and drop that again. Sorry for that. And of course, if these are my revenues that begins with a 4, I'm going to say that these are my accounts that begins with a 5. Those are going to be my COGS, and these are my accounts that start with a 6. I'm just going to rename my subtotals. And I'm going to finally add something called gross margin. That's going to be equal to my revenues, or with a minus, plus COGS, plus expenses. And let's run it. Final thing. And see if it works. And of course it didn't, because I forgot something. And give me one other second, and I will just add the account name as a grouping. And now we should be good, unless something happened with my report. But anyway, it's about dragging and dropping using a lot of Excel logic. Yeah, for some reason I lost my account name. I will have to go back to that. It will probably take me a few minutes. Maybe I can do that while you speak later on, Mandy. But I want to show you how easy it is to drag and drop and use everything you have in your ERP system through the thousands of fields we are exposing. And again, everything can be summarized. You can, of course, use all the conditional formatting that you have in Excel, or, of course, insert any type of graphical object, such as any type of charts you want to use in a report, and it will work dynamically with BI360. All you do is to upload the report to the portal once you're done, and it will probably look something like this. So let me leave that to you, Mandy, for the other 4 minutes, and we'll just fix my report. And if someone wants to stay, I can, of course, show you and prove that it actually works, but it was as could happen sometimes.
Thank you for that, Matthias. And yes, we're short on time, so if anyone does want to see that report, they can hold fire or hold back, shall I say. So hopefully you can all see my screen now. So I will only take a minute of your time up before we go into the Q&A. But I just wanted to say that, or just to recap on what Matthias has shown you. So he's shown you the live budgeting and a glimpse of the reporting module, so you can see how you can create dynamic reports and obviously budget templates as well. Just to let you know that the BI360 suite, it can grow with your organization. So what do I mean by that? I basically mean that you can add modules and functions as your business grows. So all of our modules are independent, therefore you can start off with a reporting module and grow to add our budgeting or our data warehouse or any of the other add-ons that I've specified today. The price point will always stay the same, whether you buy now or later, and we have a very low entry point. And just following on from that, Matthias mentioned earlier at the beginning of his demonstration that we have a special bundle. Yes, we do. We do have a special bundle on offer for Dynamics users in the UK, where you can purchase the BI360 web portal that we showed today, which includes our budgeting and reporting and dashboard module, with one report designer, the one person that will create the reports, and 4 end users, plus 5 days implementation, which will include training, installation, and building the reports. We are given an offer where you will get 40% off list prices. So if you would like to know more about this bundle offer or for more information on BI360, then please do reach out to myself. My details will be available for you on the next slide. And without further ado, I'd just like to say thank you all for listening today. That is the end of the presentation. I hope you have a great rest of the day for anyone who has a couple of hours remaining of their working day. I believe we will now be moving on to a Q&A session, and I do apologise, we have 1 minute to go. So I'll pass over to Jason, if that's okay.
Mandy, could you just make me a presenter and I can put...
Oh, yes, of course. I do apologise. Yeah, of course.
Seeing is believing, right?
Yes, of course. There we go.
Yeah, so while we take the Q&A, sorry for interrupting, Jason. I just finished off this one. So basically what I was doing was this, and whenever you run it, it will, of course, now populate with different account groups, revenues, COGS, expenses, and the calculations are, of course, also referencing the correct aspects. Thank you. Sorry.
Perfect, perfect. Could you just pass me to presenter, please, Matthias? That's perfect. And I guess over to you now, Jason.
All right. So a couple questions have come in. If you have any remaining, please do enter them now as we move into that phase of the session. So the first question is the BI360 budgeting solution for simple budgeting and forecasting, or can you also design complex budget models?
So with the live budgeting module that we showed you today, you can do simple budgeting forms and so forth. We do have a more advanced budgeting solution, which is called our CPM solution, BI360 planning, which enables you to do complex budgeting, and also enables you to use the data warehouse as well to do budgeting and reporting templates based on multiple data sources. Anything further for you to add, Matthias, on that piece?
No, that was good.
Perfect.
Okay, next question. Is BI360 available on premises only, or is there also a cloud offering?
So what we showed you today is our on-premise version with the web portal. So on-premise by what I mean by that is that you use the report designer, and then obviously you publish that to a web portal where end user will access that. But we do have a cloud offering. Unfortunately, we don't have time to show that today, but please do reach out to myself if you would like to see a demonstration of that.
All right. Will there be an issue with multiplexing when distributing to several users?
I think that one's for you, Matthias.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what you mean by multiplexing, if there are like concurrent usage or I guess the one that asked the question could clarify while I answer according to as I interpret it. No is my answer, because each user is working in a local session or local copy of the template, if you wish, and they're of course working within different subsets of the organization, which means normally you don't have two users entering a budget for the same cost center. They will use individual cost center parameters, which means they will write back from one and the same template, but that is not an issue. You can have concurrent users. So needing a re-license even if they're working in external systems. So we license depending on BI360, not on GP users. So you can be a BI360 user, but you don't have GP license, and the other way around. So anyone using BI360 must have a BI360 license, and it doesn't really matter in what system you're normally using. Was that the answer to the question?
Well, we'll wait to see if there's any follow-up. There's another question that came in, and this is an interesting one. We're an ISV. We have an add-on solution for Dynamics NAV with additional tables and fields. How easy is it to add new fields to the solution?
It's pretty easy. I think Matthias can maybe talk through the structure, but like I mentioned, yeah, if there are any additional customization that needs to take place, then everything that the BI360 suite is built on, Microsoft SQL. Yes, it's pretty easy. I mean, Matthias, do you want to add a bit more onto that, or?
Yeah, so our integration covers the standard configuration of the ERP systems, as I said, with thousands of fields, but we have a pre-built interface that's very easy to extend our integration to include customized tables or fields, because no customer, to my knowledge, uses the ERP out of the box. Everything is customized. So yes, it's definitely doable, very easy, and it would open up those extensions also for reporting and in some cases also budgeting. So yes.
All right, I'm just looking for any further questions. So I think to follow up on the multiplexing, it was, I think the follow-up here, does BI360 worry about access rights that are set up within AX?
No.
Is there a trial version available that can be used for learning more?
Yes, we do. We do have trial licenses available, 30-day trial licenses. Please do reach out to myself and we can get that organised for you.
Okay, I'm just looking here. I think we have made it through all the questions, so thank you to everyone in the audience for those. And Mandy and Matthias, thank you as well for taking the time today.
Thank you very much for organizing.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all for attending.
We have recorded today's event. We'll be making that available as well. And with that, we will wrap up today's event. Please do look for a survey that will pop up. Any feedback you can provide is also appreciated. That concludes the event. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.